If you've beefed up the horsepower output of your B9 Audi, or maybe just feel that unwanted driveline slop, there is a terrific solution from our friends at 034 Motorsport. These little inserts, sometimes called lockouts, are fitted into your subframe and differential bushes, and they eliminate a lot of the slop, creating a better launch because you're not wasting energy on compressing the bush and you're putting the power to the ground. Let's get under the car and figure out what this takes to install. Before we drop the exhaust, we want to remove the connection to these active exhaust valves. There's a little white tab that you need to pull out, push on it, and then pull back. It can be a little tricky because there's not a lot of visibility. And for the second valve, it's actually right before the exhaust tip. Take that connection off here too. This part goes back towards the mufflers and exhaust tips, and I think we drop that first. Let's blast these off with a 17 mil. I've supported the bottom section of the exhaust with a jack stand. We're gonna stick our 13 mil up here, and now we're gonna drop the exhaust hangers on both sides. Blast it off and the exhaust will come down. Be ready to catch it. I'm gonna undo this section here and pull out the ECS tuning X pipe. Bust off this little rubber bush from the exhaust hanger and one more right up here, and it's free. I'm gonna try using this little Schwaben exhaust hanger tool. It looks a little flimsy, but maybe it'll work. Hey, it did work. Now I'm just gonna get the one over here, and it was similarly easy. I'm gonna take the little exhaust clamps off, and then I'm gonna slide this thing out. It's time to remove this sway bar. The first step is gonna be to remove this bracket on both sides of the car, and this is a 17 mil. Make sure to retain the bolt. We can start to install these subframe inserts from 034, and it's important to only do them one at a time. If you unhook all 4 of these, you'll shift the alignment. And to do the fronts, we simply break this 21 mil bolt. Now we need to remove this metal insert. I'm told to use a pry bar. The clips that go in here broke. Really, we just need to dig these out somehow, so maybe pliers will work. Now we need to remove the plastic retainer. I'm squirting grease on the insert, and I'll just kind of rub that in and spread it around. With the insert greased up, I'm gonna kind of align it in here. Seems to fit in pretty well. It is recommended to replace these bolts, and I will link in the description to all these parts like I always do. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up with this tool. We need to torque it to 130 Newton meters, or that's about 95 pound-feet. And then we'll do a 180-degree turn. I like to just mark this stuff. You're gonna need leverage. Do the other side just like we did this one. With the front subframe inserts installed, we can move on to the rear subframe inserts, but we'll have to deviate from the instructions a little bit because we're also installing our diff bush inserts. Basically, I'll drop it, I'll install the insert, and then I'll just slightly pull the bolt up, and then I'll do that on both sides. And then that'll let us drop enough clearance for the diff inserts. And then later on, we'll come back and finish torquing these. That way we don't ruin the stretch bolt. We're gonna install a brand new stretch bolt here, and it doesn't make sense to kind of first do one set of instructions and then do the second set of instructions. I think I put a little extra grease on places I didn't need to. I'll wipe that up in a bit. You do wanna grab a new bolt. I wanna take a brief second to thank 034 Motorsport for sponsoring this video. As always, you're gonna find links down below in the description to the products, tools, equipment, production gear that was used in the making of this video. And of course, I'd love it if you liked, subscribed, rung that bell, and left me a nice comment down below in the description. I love talking to all of you guys. So now I've got the diff supported by a pole jack, and I should be able to unmount it from the subframe and then from the front as well. We've got 2 bolts, one right here and this one right here. Very tight in there. Let's get this one loose. Now what we need to remove is this bolt here. So we need a 16 wrench and a 16 ratchet. Now the diff is basically being held up by the pole jack, and we're ready to start replacing the mounts. We're gonna be carefully lowering this thing until we can see the mount. Here we have the front of the lower diff, and we have our pre-greased 034 insert. I kind of got grease all over it. I'll clean it up with a towel in a second. Basically, we just want to press this thing in and have it bottom out so that it's flush. Now we're gonna lift this back into place. I'm gonna try to line the bolt holes up and get the bolt threaded through. They do tell you to replace it, and I am putting in a new bolt. Very easy. I thought it'd be a little more of a challenge to line up. Snug it slightly, but we're not torquing yet. Between the differential and the subframe back here, you should install and press in these bushes. You're gonna have to play around with, the positioning of the diff. It'll kind of gimbal and move around until you can find a way to fit the bush in and slip the differential bolt hole back over it. All right, with the mounts pressed in and the diff popped over the mounts, we should be able to start threading these bolts in. These are the new bolts. Oh wow, this one lined right up. I think it needs to go up a little. Oh, wrong hole. I've got the bolts snugged up. So now we're gonna torque these rear bolts to 70 Newton meters. We need to spin these bolts 180 degrees. Now we're gonna torque back here to 50 Newton meters. Now we can start to pull these up. I'm gonna torque these to 90 Newton meters, which is about 65, 66 pound-feet of torque. Now we still need to give these a 180-degree turn. The main install for this is done. We just have to throw the exhaust back on and throw the sway bars in. We're good to go. Now we can raise up the sway bar and get it mounted into its perch here. There we go, that side's on. Now we can do the other side. Snug them up a little bit. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Torque down to 40 Newton meters plus 180 degrees. Now these torque down to 28 Newton meters, then do the same for the other bracket. To reassemble the exhaust, go in reverse of the disassembly. I'm installing an ECS tuning valved exhaust, which I'll show you a few clips of. Above, I'll link you to the full video install in case you're curious about this product. With those inserts installed, I can tell you they do make a difference. I can definitely tell the car is more planted when launching. It does feel like there's maybe a little bit of noise, vibration, harshness from these. I did install a whole bunch of other things at the same time, so it's a little hard to attribute what the NVH comes from. It is pretty minor, and I would say a catback, like a loud catback exhaust, will do way more to cause NVH than these inserts. If you're already running an aftermarket exhaust, you're not even gonna notice these. I do think it's something most people can do. However, I think it's so much easier on a lift, especially because you're trying to balance the diff, you're trying to raise and lower the subframe, align things, stick your hand in places. Something that would be relatively inexpensive to pay a professional to do. You shouldn't be charged a lot of hours to do this. If you wanna see more of these videos, make sure to click the subscribe button and ring that bell so you know when they come out. I do hope to see you down below in the comments. For now, I have to get a little bit of rest, but I will see you again really soon.